Today's herb is stinging nettle, the common nettle that grows everywhere, the one that you get stung really easily if you don't know how to pick it carefully. It's best to pick with gloves. I do also have a video on how to pick nettles without gloves. I'll put a link to that below for you. Hello, today we're exploring some more weeds in my garden. It's really good to be able to use what you've got growing in your garden, especially when it's for free and especially when it's usually considered as something that's not wanted by anybody. Weeds tend to grow really abundantly and really easily, so they're quite a minimal effort thing to harvest. You can hear the birds singing and the joy of having a sunny day here. Today we're looking at a herb that's going to be growing in your garden. You'll be able to find it locally as well. Of course, if you're foraging locally, make sure you have permission of the landowner. So nettles are really lovely and useful for so many things. They're great for anemia because they're rich in iron. They really are good for helping cleanse the blood, so are brilliant for springtime when we're more stagnant from the winter, from maybe not having moved about as much as we would in the summer. They're really useful for rheumatism and for gout and many other conditions. I'll pop a post on my website and a link to it below so that you can read up more about nettle and how you can use it at home. I've also got a couple of other videos that I've done in the past about nettle and eating nettles. So again, I'll link that all below for you in a playlist. So here we've got lots and lots of lovely nettles. Despite my efforts to keep this bed clear of nettles, they've kind of like won. So this is my nettle patch that I keep here. Nettles are good to harvest in the spring and early summer, but as soon as you start getting seeds on them, you should stop harvesting them because they become much higher in uric acid. And the acids are what makes the herb really good for using for gout, but you need to harvest them in the springtime and early summer. If they're on one part of the plant, then you shouldn't harvest any of the plant even if there's no seeds on it, because the plants are all connected by the roots, and so that acidity will be there in all of them. So just harvest them in the spring. If you want to have your own free supply of nettles, then I suggest just gently drying them. They will go darker in colour. Make sure once they're completely dry, by storing them, putting them in somewhere warm or drying them in a drying oven. When you finish cooking something, turn the oven off, and as it cools down, just put them in there so that they're not baked, they're just gently dried out. Leave the oven door open as well so that the air's circulating and they don't go off. That's a really nice easy way to dry them. So make sure you dry them, make sure you label the thing that you keep them in clearly. Paper bags is a nice way to keep them because they're not going to get moisture, but if you're 100% certain they're dry, you can also keep them in a glass jar. Make sure again you label it, because once the leaf is dry, a lot of leaves can look like other leaves. Be very careful when you pick nettles because of their sting. There's lots of little tiny weeny glass-like fibres on the underside of the nettle, and that can stab in and can be a little bit uncomfortable and very itchy. So just be very careful. As such, it's really good for stinging pains, and it can be used as a tea to bathe burns and hives, and as a homeopathic remedy. It's also really useful for hives and burns as well, and many other things, gout, many other conditions that link in with the herbal uses as well. But I'll do another video on the homeopathic uses of stinging nettle another day. So what we'll do now is, I've picked some already. I'll just show you how to make a really simple cup of nettle tea that you can use for your own healing properties. As an aside, as I said, it's really useful for anemia. It can be used in pregnancy as well. Just drink that. It can help with anemia in pregnancy and may also help with helping to stimulate milk flow in pregnancy as well. Just start very gently, and if you're concerned, obviously speak to a professional about that as well. So here we have a thermosy-like flask of boiling water and my nettle that I've pre-picked. So it's still steaming. I'm just very gently with the tissue going to pick it up and pop it in. Don't want to waste any. And then with my teaspoon that is in my back pocket, just give it a bit of a stir. the water will go darker. As such, if it's the first time you're using nettle tea, you may notice that your urine goes a little bit darker. That's not uncommon, don't be alarmed. If it bothers you, then just stop. As you can see, the water's going dark quite quickly. So if you like a strong cup of tea, leave it in. If you prefer a weaker cup, then obviously hook it out and try it. If you want to sweeten it, you can always add either a little bit of apple juice or a touch of honey to it. The honey will have B vitamins, which is very nourishing, or apple juice again will just help with the flavour and enhancement of it. I'm just going to pop the lid on so it can brew a little bit because it's cold out, or chilly out here. I don't want it to evaporate all the heat away, and then I'll drink it very shortly. When drinking it, it's probably best to just scoop out your nettle leaves. Yeah, a really nice way to have a free cup of tea and to make some stores for the winter for nettle tea as well. Take care, keep well, and I'd love to hear how you get on.